Hi everyone, Cameron here. Because Java is such a sought-after language, the Oracle Certified Associate Java Programmer certification, also called the OCA, is very valuable to have. It is the entry-level Java certification that Oracle offers, and it allows employers to feel confident that you have a very good grasp of the fundamentals of the Java language. The exam for the OCA comprises of 70 questions to be answered in 2.5 hours. This gives you a little over 2 minutes per question, which is quite a high pace. The questions are multiple choice, but can require a fair amount of work to solve and may contain some tricks. In order to feel confident of achieving the 65% pass rate, you will have to know the content very well, and you should practice on a few mock exams beforehand. This week, we'll be looking at some of the basics of the Java language in detail. We'll be examining what is allowed in a Java file. This is not as straightforward as it may seem at first. For example, you can have as many classes and interfaces as you like declared in a Java file, but only one of them may be declared public, and it must have the same name as the file. We'll also take a look at the Java package structure and how to build and execute a Java application. Java is known as an object-oriented language, but it is not actually a pure object-oriented language, because data in Java can be represented by primitives. Primitives are basic data types like short and int, which can store integer values, and char, which can store characters. Floating point numbers can be stored in float and double primitive types, while Boolean values can be stored in the Boolean type. A primitive variable value is stored in an area of memory known as a stack. Primitives may be combined together by the operators that you now see on your screen. These should be familiar to everyone. They behave as expected and allow for basic mathematical operations to be performed. Java objects are instances of Java classes. A class is a template for an object which consists of behavior and data. For example, we could define a person class that has an age integer and a gender char to hold a symbol for a gender. Object variables are also stored in the stack, but do not hold the values of the object. Instead, object variables hold the memory address of the object which is stored in another area of memory known as the heap. There are 3 access modifiers in Java: private, public, and protected, that can be applied to members of an object. Members of a class are the methods or variables declared inside a class. Private members of a class are only accessible inside instances of the class they are declared in, and are only available for that specific instance. Public members are accessible from all other classes. Protected members are only accessible from classes that extend from the class where they are declared. Otherwise, they function in the same way as private members. When an object member has no access modifier, it is said to have default or package access. It is called this because these members are essentially public to all classes declared in the same package, but not to anyone else. Besides access modifiers, there are non-access modifiers. The final modifier, for example, does not allow a variable to be reassigned once it has a value or object assigned to it. This allows the compiler to optimize the machine code generated, and it also helps the developer when a value should not be modified. The static and abstract non-access modifiers are fairly complex, and we will go into more detail during the week. Besides access modifiers, there are non-access modifiers. The final modifier, for example, does not allow a variable to be reassigned. Once it has a value or object assigned, besides access modifiers, there are non-access modifiers. The final modifier, for example, does not allow a variable to be reassigned once it has a value or... Besides access modifiers, there are non-access modifiers. The final modifier, for example, does not allow a variable to be reassigned once it has a value or an object assigned to it. Should we start again? Yeah. Besides access modifiers, there are non-access modifiers. The final modifier, for example, does not allow a variable to be reassigned once it has a value or an object assigned to it. This allows the compiler to optimize the machine code generated, and it also helps the developer to know when a value should not be modified. The static and abstract non-access modifiers are fairly complex, and we will go into more detail during the week. I hope you gain a lot of valuable information this week. Please post your questions and comments to the Noroff forum.